I hit the unmute button on the won't. There we go. There we go. Welcome in to another edition of the R&R Sports Report. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, what's up?
What? Yes, we are early.
We're
Thank
early.
you, Robert.
We have to time with the music over here, and yeah.
Well, it's World Baseball Classic time. That's what we're watching the game. Got the game on. We're trying to focus with that, and man, lots of stuff going on. Finally, a decent day out here.
And it's been all weekend.
Well, we got out here. I don't understand that, but it was nice. It was kind of cool. I left school a little bit late, but got to see Clarkson Bantams were hosting Colfax here tonight, and ran home real quick. And when I left to come back over here, I drove by, and then there's tons of other cars. And I'm thinking, there's not very many fans. Got down farther a little bit at school. Man, it's T-ball season. And I was just thinking, I was like, you remember when you and I coached the boys, the 9-year-olds? That was kind of crazy. And I was thinking, seeing all of these parents out there, gorgeous out.
It's that time of year. Spring is here. We had a little bit of rain yesterday. No rain today. It's been absolutely beautiful out there. Been absolutely fantastic. Can we make fun of somebody just real quick?
Is it Eric?
It's not Eric this time. I mean, he sets himself up enough. But our buddy Richie.
Yeah.
Big baseball fan, yes?
Baseball nut 101. Him and I had the same idea as we got to bowl there, because I bowled with your honey the other night, and as soon as I got there, I had switched the game that they were watching basketball to WBC, and so, and I mean, baseball guy, yes, you're watching baseball. Yeah. That was the first thing he did. I mean, that's how much him and I are into it.
Huge baseball nut. He watches as much, if not more, baseball than I do every year, and listens to it and everything. He is at his son's game.
Right.
He just sent me the box score for this World Baseball Classic game that is going on right now. We're still in the top of the fifth. Japan is leading 3-1 in the championship game against the United States. Big baseball fan Richie messaged me with the box score saying, how does Trey have a run and an RBI and the U.S. only has one run? He hit a home run, sir. He hit a solo home run. He did what he always does in this tournament. And so he knocked himself in. I thought Richie would understand how that's
so with that being said, I know we're going to try. Is Trey Turner the MVP of the tournament for the USA?
Wins? Yeah, 100%. There's not even a doubt at this point. He had that crazy grand slam that helped him come back and beat Venezuela. He had a couple more home runs after that. Yeah, absolutely.
How about the one that I saw a post the other day, and I don't know where it came from, but it talked about Ken Griffey coming out of retirement in 2026.
Stop it. What?
Yes.
For the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, for the World Baseball Classic. Come back out of retirement, play that one to keep his batting average title from when it started. He played in 2006.
No, it would knock it down. What are you talking about?
That's what he said. He said, I got to protect it. I'm thinking, okay.
That's not a batting average title. All you're going to do is make it worse.
Unless he goes 3 for 4 every game. Yeah.
I'll take that bet. I'll absolutely 1000% take that bet. So we will talk a lot more about the World Baseball Classic in the second hour. Also, for those that are tuning in live, and I'll try to update you as we go. Once again, we have locked in the top of our second hour to be our sports-related draft. Now that, football is behind us, and we're not taking as much time talking about all the games and such. And especially now that we haven't fully got into baseball season, we'll discuss about this being part of the
Eric can't be a judge.
Season. Yes, he can.
Eric cannot be a judge.
Because it was my pick for the sports-related draft, and because of the World Baseball Classic, and I straight up will say I stole this from Rich Eisen,
right?
Because it was part of his Overreaction Monday. But we are going to draft the best all-star/exhibition game or tournaments in sports, and we'll do that at the top of our second hour. And spoilers, if I don't win, there's something wrong with this game.
When you and I were doing it today, I was like, "Yep, he's already won." I already
Yep.
thought that. So that's what I'm saying.
I'm
Eric
feeling-
can't vote.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling happy. I'm ready to go. Get revenge from last week when you were able to beat me.
I just need to text my students to
Yes.
watch and say,
Also, for those that are out there and you're listening right now, this is our promise, I guess is the right word. I have once again messaged Austin Arnett
"Oh my god!"
from, where is it, Martial Arts America,
Yep.
who we have promised that we would go up there and do a training session for when we hit 600 followers. That was way back in the fall
Right.
when we did so.
And things happen. Yep.
Things happen. Personal life stuff got in the way of the date
Yep.
we had set. And then we wanted to wait for them to get through their fights. And we did so. And then with bowling going on,
And
you know, schedules
basketball.
kind of got tight. Basketball always brings up crazy schedules. They were off doing a bunch of other stuff. Kind of got put on the back burner throughout the holidays. It needs to get done. So we promise it will happen soon, especially with their fights coming up. Once again, our deadline is short. So I'm hoping to hear from Austin soon. However, that is not why I bring this up. I bring that up to say, whatever you guys decide for the next one, it's going to happen too, because the
Pretty quick.
600 will happen. But we're only 30 followers away from 700 already. So we want to thank all of you for continuing to help this show grow. And we need suggestions for when we do hit the 700 followers. And again, it will happen. We promise, because the 600 one will happen. I'm just waiting to get date ideas.
When I talked to Austin a few weeks ago, he said, "Anytime. I'm here all the time."
Oh yeah, I told him I know your schedule is busy, and I told him I want to double it up and do an offsite interview with them that we can play as a video on our show and let him promote their big events. Hey, stop freaking out over the game. I will turn it off. I will turn this car around if you don't focus. No. So again, 600 will happen with the MMA stuff. We need ideas for 700, because the way things are going, it's going to come up quick, which is crazy, and we appreciate everybody.
Do I tell you I'm on spring break next week?
I'm on spring break next week.
So maybe we just get her done next week.
Yes, let's make it happen. Austin, you don't listen, but next week.
The guys are training. I'm surprised. I talked to Brian McElroy this morning.
I still want to go train with the kids.
I was quick with him and his and my conversation on the phone today. I was like, really quick, answer. Okay, bye. I got to go, because I didn't want to give him the opportunity of, when are you coming up here to get your butt kicked?
I get spring break next week. Yes, let's get this done.
All right,
soon. On today's show, we will talk a little bit about NFL free agency, though that has kind of slowed down a little bit. Major League Baseball previews, we're closing those up. The final divisions to talk about. The AL West will be this hour. The NL West will be next hour. Talk a little bit about the conclusions of the NAIA basketball championships. Of course, we'll talk more about March Madness. Both the women's and men's brackets are now down to the Sweet 16. A lot of fantastic games. Golf just had their home tournament that just concluded a couple hours ago, and you won't believe some of the numbers that happened out there. Tennis is also playing pretty well. Of course, we'll talk more about the World Baseball Classic, high school baseball and softball and track. All of the spring sports are now in full go, as well as Aussie rules football.
Yes, sir.
Even though it only took one quarter for me to go, oh yeah, my team sucks.
Oh, I was watching mine, and I had to leave and go do something. I didn't finish. Oh, I watched it Saturday morning before I came over here and worked baseball. And after I worked baseball, I was going to go back home, and I accidentally pushed the wrong button, and I knew who won. And I'm like, how did my team only score 4 when you're up that much?
What are you doing Friday evening?
What am I doing Friday evening?
Yep.
I have no idea yet.
You want to go get our asses kicked?
Is he already messaging?
He just messaged me back.
Oh, boy.
It'd be like a Friday evening. Would you like to do it Friday?
I think we can probably do it. I'm going to have to.
Oh, God. Danny Crump. Brutal. I don't know if coach would allow us to use a Warrior pitcher in season. to do so.
I
But
don't
I would
know.
be down. I'd be so scared.
I-
Friday, you in?
Yeah, put me down. It looks like we're now. We're gonna have to see if Dave Walk can come over and video while we're doing
Yes,
it. Huh?
I agree.
Oh,
All right, so there you go. Hopefully, as long as everything goes according to plan now, we will be discussing how bad we got our butts kicked on next week's show. There you go. And trying to hit a breaking pitch would be hilarious.
yeah, I don't.
Absolutely. What would you be more afraid of, actually, before we fully get into our main topic of the show? What would you be more afraid of? To try to hit somebody's breaking pitch or like a 95-mile-an-hour fastball?
You know, we were talking about it. Shanna and Noah and I were in the score side of, or not the score side, but the broadcast side of the
Mhm.
of the booth the other day. And you're exactly right, Denny.
We might need it.
And we were talking about the idea of watching a couple of those guys pitch, and I was more afraid of a ball coming in at my knees on a breaking pitch than there was me taking a shot at the chin or the head on a fastball. I don't know why. I always
less
buckled
to
up.
injure up in that upper area of a face, right?
Yeah, I mean,
For us, for sure. All right, so
Like
we'll continue to discuss that. Keep putting your comments or your ideas in the comments throughout the show and throughout the week. Maybe I'll get Robert to post that stuff because you know me, I'm terrible at posting on social media. So it's all Robert's job. But let's get into it. Our main topic, NCAA March Madness. We're 2 rounds in. 68 teams have been turned to 16. And our brackets are toast.
that's an understatement.
They're pretty toasted. But you know what? That is exactly how I like it. Apologies to Eric Watkins and his Miami Hurricanes, who we had zero faith in to beat Drake in the first round. Not only did they beat Drake, but they beat Indiana.
Yeah,
they are in the Sweet 16. So congratulations to Eric and the Miami women's team also in the Sweet 16. So Eric having a pretty good weekend for sure. Our standings right now, we both got 21 of the 32 first round picks, right? That is average, I think. I always try to get inside 10. We got 11 wrong, so I feel okay there. I got 9 of the Sweet 16 correct. You just had 8. So that gives me a 2-point lead going into the second weekend. We both only have 4 teams of the Elite 8 left. We both only have 2 of our Final 4 left. However, your 2 that you have in the Final 4 are your 2 teams in the championship game. I lost Kansas, who I had winning the whole thing. My idea with that one was Bill Self was going to be able to come back from his medical stuff. His team was going to rally behind them, and they were going to win the championship. Unfortunately, he was unable to come back from his medical stuff, and his team failed to rally for him and were eliminated by Arkansas.
Right.
So difficult for me. But with that said, even though I've lost my champion and you still have yours available, as long as Alabama doesn't win the whole thing, I like my chances because I had Alabama into the championship game. So I have them going a ways. So we have one major matchup to look forward to on the men's side before we look back at how the first 2 rounds went. Just looking at our brackets between us, and that's one bracket, Denny Grubb. Denny showed me his 25 brackets on Sunday.
How do you play 25 brackets?
Where he maxed out ESPN, where his best bracket was like in the top 40,000 at the time, and his worst bracket was outside the top 17 million. So,
what the one number you know, you and I talked about it. We all crunched numbers, and we were throwing this out in the press box Saturday. Was on both the men's and the women's, there were out of 20 million brackets, 0.
Yes.
After the first 2. And so, you know, it's,
when
I don't think I've
16 seed
ever
wins and a 15 seed wins,
I don't think I've ever remember it getting down to 0 perfect brackets
this early.
That early.
Yeah. But again, when a 16 seed and a 15 seed both win, my daughter got both of them right, but she didn't get a ton.
That was also the topic of in the press box.
She was absolutely fantastic.
She was beating both of us on Saturday morning.
She's only a little bit behind us still. I mean, her bracket's still pretty beat up, but she's at 34 points. So she's only 3 points behind you. So Give her credit.
Oh yeah.
For sure. But yeah, our main game is, if it happens and they get to the Elite Eight, Houston and Texas will basically be the game that decides who wins between us, unless Alabama wins the whole thing. Very interesting that while we had so many upsets, there's only one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16, which when I started to put those together, I was shocked by it because we saw so many upsets. And you see 2 1 seeds go down and 2 seeds were going down, but there's only one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16. However, it's a 15 seed, like we saw last year.
Yeah, who would have thought Princeton? Princeton was enough to get by Missouri. I even Arizona. I think that was the biggest one. Is I want to say it was Katie. We were talking about Katie, and then our buddy Marty Schlater. Marty had them going all the way. I mean,
Arizona.
Yeah. He had his bracket off of his door at work, and no, doesn't want to see anybody seeing it anymore because of it. But it can happen at any time. I mean, and that's the biggest thing is we've followed now with how much things have changed. You look at the bracket. I didn't think Gonzaga was going to get past UCLA. Now there's a possibility, that's the lighter side. I think that's the game in the West side now. I mean, you got UConn and Arkansas. I think that's the easier. If you're a Gonzaga fan, you like what has happened in that West.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're still a big UCLA game. Coming up on Thursday or Friday. I forget.
Thursday, 6:45.
Thursday. There you go. So they will be very focused on that. It'll be a very, very good game. But as this bracket has shown, and we have seen it before, that just because the top part of the bracket's a 4 seed and an 8 seed, that doesn't mean it's lighter. Teams get rolling. One of those teams that have done it before is UConn. That's not a team that you really want to see come tournament time. And I've just gotten to the point, and I made the mistake once again in this bracket. If I predict Michigan State and Tom Izzo to win the first round, then you use a permanent marker in the second round and move them on. That man on short notice in these tournaments, his record is insane. I forget exactly the numbers, but they talked about it during his game with Marquette, where Michigan State was able to win that game. But just a silly number of wins if they make it to that second game. So if Michigan State beats Kansas State, which is possible, then they're going to move on to the Final Four. You're whistling into the microphone. Oh. So it's just ridiculous. And once again, I fell for it. I fell for it again, had them winning the first time and then losing to Marquette. Just silly on me. So real quick, what was your favorite game from the weekend? I will say, from all of the craziness that we saw on the men's side, there was not a single overtime game.
Yeah.
The women had several overtime games throughout their weekends, but
I think sitting and watching some of the games as kids were going by, there in the classroom, there was a couple of them. And that one, the St. Mary's VCU one, was one that, it took them a little bit to get going. But I think the one that really blew my mind starting, and it was an opening game one. How does Iowa State trail Pittsburgh 20-2 with 8 minutes left in the first half? 20-2.
You don't hit your shots.
That was the thing that just blew me away, because that game was happening just after my lunch, and I had left my screen up where everybody could see it, and I went back in there and I saw, how are they only scoring 2 points? I mean, I had to go back and look at the breakdown really quick on ESPN and look at, okay, why are they missing so much? But that one I think just blew me away the most. I was most shocked about is how Pitt, and we happen to have, we have the 11s beating the 6s. We have the 12s beating the 5s. It just happens. But that one for me was very shocked. I
didn't say the most shocking moment. I said, what was the best game? For me, you could almost put all of the 8-9 matchups on here. I think all of them delivered
Right.
as far as close games, but Florida Atlantic over Memphis, that game over it was like the last 5 or 6 minutes was so back and forth, and you had just zero idea what was going to happen. We saw a couple of great comebacks and stuff, a couple near buzzer beaters, but I think that game had the most back and forth to it that I had seen this weekend. Now I didn't get to watch all of them, have different baseball stuff I had to cover, but especially on Friday where I got to sit down and watch a good amount, that game was nuts.
Yeah, I'm going back and looking here. I would probably have to say the Virginia Furman one.
That was a good one too.
That was the one we were watching in the morning there at school.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that one, and an upset. You get, that was one thing I was looking at my bracket to start with.
It was only an upset if you didn't know about Furman.
What do you? Yeah, I was looking. I'm like, what do you take? Which upset do you take? And you're looking, and that one never even crossed my radar of thinking, okay, Furman's going to be enough to take over. And you were texting me, and I mean, within a minute of it happening, it was like
I knew it. I had no idea. Like I said, it's the least amount of college basketball I've watched going into the tournament. Just looking at different stats, I went with Furman.
So with that being said, do you look for upsets?
Of course.
But I mean, based on just seeding, I always look at 5-12 very, very closely. I don't know why 5-12.
Because I mean, it's the most common out of those bigger disparities as far as seedings go. 5-12 seems to be the ones that we remember the most.
Right.
Because obviously until 5 years ago, 16 wasn't going to beat 1. 2 rarely got beat by 15s.
Mm-hmm.
3s and 4s, for the most part, so had a really high winning percentage. It was then when you hit 5, the 5-12 matchup, that's when things started shifting. And
so were you, out of all of them and looking at this and sitting and were you happy with all of the seedings, or was there a team
I have no idea.
Was there a team? Because I got asked this one a lot and I don't know why. And they kept asking me, do you think Creighton got seeded too low? Creighton was at a 6. And I had talked to a couple of different people, and they're like, "Oh, they should be like a 3."
But there were 12 or 21 and 12.
Right.
Again, I can't say I watched any of Creighton this year, so I can't sit there and go, "Oh, well, this team should have been better than this." And teams are going to get hot at different times.
Right.
But the fact they lost 12 games, to me, 6 seed sounds probably about right, without just looking at that number alone. To answer your question, though, when I was looking for upsets this year for not watching. Usually I watch a lot of the conference tournaments, especially the smaller schools, because those are where you're going to try to find your upsets, or these smaller conferences where a team comes through and wins in crazy fashion or looking just absolutely red hot. And, all right, that's the team that we need to pick. Not watching any of that this year. I went to ESPN, and when you go into their tournament challenge maker, you click on it and they have all these informations. And there's one that has like a percentages for like brackets and ratings and all this kind of stuff. And there's like 4 different percentages on there. It's like anytime the percentages were over 25%, then I dug a little deeper. If it was under 25%, I went, all right, I can't even think of this as an upset. And it worked out pretty well for me. I mean, it did not call Princeton and Fairleigh Dickinson moving on, but you do what you can. All right. Before we move on from the men's bracket, there are 5 teams left, or 7 teams left that are the 5th seed or higher. Okay. San Diego State, Miami, Creighton, Michigan State, Arkansas, Florida Atlantic, and Princeton. Will the champion be one of those teams?
I don't think so.
Is it only because you need Alabama to win it all to win our bracket?
Maybe just a little. God, watching Creighton over the last 2 games, they look impressive. And going back and watching highlights, I've been impressed with how San Diego State has done all season, especially what they've done in their league play. So for them to be able to play, that's the game I'm looking forward to on Friday. So Can we make sure that we don't do that? Or is that Saturday? No, that's a Friday game.
Yeah,
Can we make sure
Thursday
we?
or Friday.
Yeah, well, they play at 3:30 p.m. So we can't go up and see Austin at 3:30.
Eric saying that his second bracket saved him. So yeah, he has not answered me what time yet. I will let
But
you.
yeah,
know,
I think that's the most intriguing matchup. I hope San Diego State plays them hard. So,
ooh. Are you available tomorrow?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I'm getting a message here from Patsy. Oh,
he just asked if we were available for team practice tomorrow at 7. Since you're not available, I get out of it. Cool.
No, I am not. I have prior engagements tomorrow night.
Okay. Yeah, I think the tournament's gone well. I have been very distracted by the World Baseball Classic.
Same here.
So I've had some interesting setups. If anybody's seen my office setup,
you need to take a picture and just post it on our page.
It's not the most impressive, but I have a lot of fun with it.
Dude,
so
I
have 2 monitors that are on top of each other,
right?
And then I have a long monitor. I forget what those things are called.
Is it one of those curved long?
Yeah, the curved long monitors that basically you can do a split screen on side by side, and they're still very solid screens. So it's basically 2 screens in one. And I had over the weekend at one point, I had bowling on one side of my dual screen. I had one of the March Madness games on the other, and then on the 2 other brackets, I had one of the women's games going on, and then the World Baseball Classic. So I had 4 different sports going on. I was having a blast.
I'm surprised. With this being said, I know Denny knows this because I had it on there, but I'm surprised that Brooke or Katie didn't say anything because we had my computer logged up trying to get your game, as you were calling the Lewiston game. Couldn't get that way. So we finally gave up and just put on. We started watching March Madness. So we had March Madness while we were doing the LC game.
I think as long as you didn't mess up.
It was fun, and we trying to pay attention, and everybody was getting into. We were doing and we were even live statting Oregon and Washington State baseball. So I think the technology is there because there's a lot of people that do that now. So
100%. That's why cable's dying, because you can just stream everything. All right, let's get into some NFL talk again. Free agency has started to slow down a little bit.
Just a little.
Now we can start looking more towards the draft next month. With Eric here, we still have to discuss if we're once again going to do our first round live stream or not. Those are very long, but we have fun with it. So we will discuss that over the next few weeks. But we will start prepping ourselves and doing previews stuff as we get teams still trading off these picks and have fun doing that. Still waiting to see the Commanders get sold.
Well, did you read the article today?
I've not read any of that stuff. I want to see done.
It was so
preliminarily interested. I nailed it. Good job.
So the Commanders have got a new couple of people wanting to buy them. I heard the number. So in the article today, they talked about the number being $5.76 billion. Now, I don't know if that is how true that is. It's off from just a little bit from prior times. But how about NBA Hall of Famer Magic Johnson putting his name with billionaire Josh Harris to buy the Commanders?
I'm fine with that.
Both of them have stocks in other teams. So you got Harris, who owns the 76ers. He owns the New Jersey Devils, and then he's a shareholder in Crystal Palace. And then you got Johnson, who is owner of the LA Dodgers, has part shares with the Sparks and LAFC. I mean,
it's honestly not a bad ownership group if you get in there. Johnson obviously has been very active with the Dodgers and has no problem.
How do you tell Doug Snyder? Let's just get it done. Get out of here.
Well, Snyder is too busy trying to get Lamar Jackson before he goes.
I thought we weren't going to talk Lenny Lamar tonight.
I didn't say
he was not in any of the script for tonight for us to talk about. I figured there was going to be one night that we could go and not talk about anything.
I'll put it back on there because Robert Taylor did say, and this is where it came up, that the Commanders were basically a quarterback away from being dangerous. The Jets are too, and I'm still waiting for the Aaron Rodgers news, which I have now come to the conclusion of it's not going to happen till like draft night. Neither team is in any kind of a hurry right now, and it's brutal. And it's just I've gotten to the point. I was like then I've even told Roberts like the NFL is dead to me until this Rodgers news comes in, but it could be a while for sure. Some of the bigger signings, some quarterbacks moving around some more. How about Gardner Minshew going to Indianapolis? Will Gardner be the starter, or is he a backup plan in case all of the quarterbacks get drafted before the Colts have a pick?
It's going to be interesting to see. He even made comments so he didn't know what was going to happen there. But you put Gardner in there. You got Nick Foles. You got Sam Ellinger. I think it's a good shot for him to play.
Yeah.
I mean,
why not?
I'm not sure about the new head coach there. I mean, it's gonna be a little interesting to see what his coaching style comes out. I think is what's gonna boil down to.
Also in the AFC South, you got to give credit to Houston. They've been the laughing stock of the league for years. But they're still going out there making lots of moves. Dalton Schultz is a pretty good tight end out of Dallas. Devin Singletary, underutilized running back at Buffalo. I don't think he is a top tier running back by any means. I think a lot of us kept wanting him to be just because he was part of a very solid offense up there at Buffalo. But it could be a decent enough running back, I think, for Houston. And getting, Laramie Tunsil re-signed down there as well. Houston making some decent moves for a team that had a coach basically give up the number one pick to his old former team by winning the last week. But they've been making some decent moves. By no means am I going to go out there and say that they're going to be a playoff contender next year, but they're going to draft one of those top two quarterbacks that whichever one that Carolina does not pick. And they are starting to put things around that young man, whichever one it's going to be. And they could be an interesting team to watch next year as far as just seeing if they take strides next year.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the changing of scenery with a lot of these guys getting older is going to be huge in this one. But Houston, do you start talking about Houston now of could they take a step in their division to be
third?
Yeah, I was like that they're showing that they're trying to make this team work.
Yeah, they're taking steps in the right direction. Do I think they're going to be contender? Absolutely not.
No,
the AFC South is weak.
AFC is you and I talked about it. AFC is crazy.
Well, AFC is deep, but the AFC South is the redheaded stepchild of the AFC. Indy is taking steps backwards.
Right.
Tennessee is taking steps backwards, but Jacksonville to me is feeling like they're going to be the class of that division for years to come. They've been making great moves around Trevor Lawrence. We saw them take those moves or those strides, I think, last season, and they're going to be even more improved. So I think Jacksonville is going to win the division next year. We'll get to those previews in several months' time.
Yeah.
But can Houston do enough to pass either of the two teams that are going in the wrong direction? I think it depends if Tennessee trades Derrick Henry or not, or if Indianapolis just puts their hands up and go, okay, we're done, and like trades Jonathan Taylor out of nowhere or something.
I wouldn't think that. So, I wouldn't think.
No, I think Houston right now would finish last, but I like some of the moves they did. Big quarterback change for Tampa Bay. You go from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. That NFC South is going to be really interesting and not in a good way.
I don't know. I don't think that's not. I don't think that's the fit there either. And especially with their losing Leonard Fournette.
Man, I mean, that one doesn't bother me.
You have no Ronald Jones anymore. You have no Leonard Fournette anymore.
Leonard Fournette was getting up there in that age where he's a solid running back. He would be a good 1-2 punch for somebody, but he's replaceable. And they got Chase Edmonds. So honestly, I think that's a step up because that's a receiving wide receiver. Yeah. Leonard Fournette caught passes from Tom Brady, but I like Chase Edmonds a lot.
I think he gets a signing spot, but I don't think he gets that feature role anymore. I think for me, reading the things and shocked about, we kind of knew that was going to happen, but Tony Pollard ends up they basically said, you're the main guy. They let Zeke go, but then they sign Ronald Jones today.
Cheaper. It's far less money that you have to spend on Ronald Jones than you have to do on Zeke.
So where's he going to get fed at?
It's interesting because I remember seeing this news. I don't think he was fully released, right? He was like tenured. So somebody has to sign him or he comes back. NFL rules sometimes are weird. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up, but I don't think that's a big loss for Dallas. He's kind of been taking those steps backwards too. Zeke is going to probably put himself in a very good situation and be a role player for a very, very good team. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden he goes to Buffalo. With our luck, he'll go to Kansas City because according to Robert Taylor, everybody wants to go there. But all right, could he go to Philadelphia and go up against his old team and try to show him that, yes, I still have stuff? I don't think he's going to end up going, I'll take the money and go to Cleveland.
But Robert Taylor says he loves not having to have a care about the offseason.
Yeah, because in the end, the things don't matter for him because his team is very, very good. Also in the NFC South, we talked about DJ Moore being part of that trade where Carolina moved up to 1. They have now replaced DJ Moore with Adam Thielen.
I like that.
2 completely different receivers. Thielen is more of an inside guy. You're like, he's perfect as like the slot receiver. DJ Moore is more of a deep threat. But for bringing in a rookie quarterback in Carolina to have Thielen as your main target, I'm going to disagree with Robert Taylor, who said the Saints are going to win the NFC South. Carolina's winning not the AFC South, the NFC South. Carolina's winning that division.
That's a big step. I don't know. That division just does not. There's too many changes going on.
Yep.
And that's the
none
thing.
Of them
and
are
none
great.
of them are great. and we talked about the quarterback issues. Every one of the quarterbacks, there's going to be somebody different.
Yeah.
Is it enough that Desmond Ridder can get Atlanta going 100% in there? I mean, when it gets to prediction time for that division,
it's going to be fun.
It's going to be nuts.
It's going to be so much fun. All right, real quick. Speaking of predictions, you put it on here as a question. Let's just throw it out there real quick. Couple weeks into the off season, we're a little over a month away from the draft. Give me your top 5 NFL power rankings off the top of the dome.
Off the top of the dome.
Go.
Oh, he's going to love it. I'm going to put Kansas City there. Kansas City 1.
Kansas City at 5. Okay.
Philly up 2. Oh, yeah. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I like that. Put him there. I'm going to say 5. I'm still going to put Philly at 2.
Okay.
You hear it now. I'm putting Cincinnati 3. I would do Cincinnati 3rd. 4th. Dallas has got to be in that top.
Do they?
I think so. I think they've got to talk a little bit.
Okay.
And then probably, boy, I don't know. Who would I put number 5?
Taylor, what is your top 5 power rankings right now? I'm very curious. Same with you, Eric.
It's interesting to see. Let's go.
Well, what do you think about that? I'll go through. Oh, go ahead if you got it.
I'm going to go with the Rams.
The Rams.
I'm going to bring the Rams back up. They're starting to. I think they got a chance to make a splash.
How far is Jacksonville from the top 5?
Honestly,
if we did a top 10, they'd be in there for me.
10, I would say within the top 10, yeah.
So they're close. Yeah, for sure. If we did a full top 10 and like we did it as a full segment. Oh, yeah. Taylor has Jaguars at 5. Chiefs, Bengals, Eagles, Dolphins. I don't know about the Dolphins.
I was just to say the same thing. Not knowing what Tua is doing. Yes, they exercised. They picked up his 5th year. Not knowing what
Dolphins did make a lot of good moves, though. Honestly, if I had to make division predictions right now, I probably would have Miami winning the division just because Aaron Rodgers has not officially been moved to the Jets.
You want to know the funny one that I saw today, besides the Cam Newton, throwing at Auburn,
Yeah.
was LA would be talking about moving Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
Can you imagine Matthew Stafford in green?
Trust me, Richie already sent me the stuff that he is the backup plan for the Jets. And while I would be totally fine with that until the Rodgers stuff completely implodes,
Right.
that's where my head is at. That Aaron Rodgers will eventually become a New York Jet. And I'm not thinking of anything else other than the fact that the Jets need to talk to Lamar. Listen, I'm not saying to trade him,
right?
Just to get this Rodgers stuff going. It's like, hey, we've now talked to Lamar. We're kind of interested in possibly going that route unless Green Bay gets off their butts and let's get this done.
And I haven't heard anything in the last 4 days out of the Lamar camp. So it'd be, just need to.
So what was your 5 again? Kansas City, Philadelphia, Cincinnati.
I moved LA up there.
LA, and who was your 5th?
No, they were my 5th. Dallas.
Okay. Kansas City, Philadelphia, Cincinnati. I agree with those 3 from you. And then just looking at this list, San Francisco to me has to be 4. Their quarterback. Well, but I understand not putting him in your top 5 right now because the quarterback situation is scary. With Purdy having to delay his surgery. Oh, and
again, put that.
Every time I talk to Taylor about power rankings, he always forgets about San Francisco.
Well, they're easily forgettable.
So I would have San Francisco 4, and then 5 is really interesting. I think Buffalo is going to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'd put Miami slightly above Buffalo. Jacksonville's a very fun pick. You know what else is a really, really fun pick? And if we did our full top 10, I would put them on there for sure. But I can't.
Baltimore.
I can't fully commit to putting them in the top 5. The Detroit Lions.
Dude,
I think the Detroit Lions are going to win the NFC North. I love everything they've done in this offseason.
Even losing Williams?
Yeah. I mean, even though Williams scored every touchdown for them last year.
I love the coaching staff. You and I have talked about
it. The coaching staff is
awesome.
So good. Jared Goff is not horrible. I thought the defense was really good. I thought they made some pretty good moves. You know, just missing out on the playoffs this year and taking out Detroit, even though they got, or taking out Green Bay, even though they got eliminated. I love the fire from that team. I'm not going to fight, but it's tempting.
Oh yeah.
So to me, it's between Miami and Jacksonville, and I'll go with Jacksonville right now as my 5th pick. But it's close, for sure. But again, it's a long ways away from the season, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. And I'll tell you right now, the moment Aaron Rodgers does get traded to the Jets are in my top 5. I don't care. I don't care if it's incorrect. I don't care if it's going to blow up in my face. I just want to say Jets top 5. You put the Jets top 5 last year.
I did at one point,
stuff, and then they got completely creamed, and I blamed you.
No, they lost probably
They imploded last year.
Breece Hall was on the path of probably being.
Oh, he would have been rookie of the year.
Absolutely. Easily, hands down.
Oh yeah. No, I'm very excited for the Jets team that they cannot have Zach Wilson as their quarterback. Period. All right, we'll get more into the NFL next week. We'll have some more fun now that we've kind of gotten through the main part again of free agency. We're waiting for the draft, so we'll start doing some goofy games and getting ourselves ready for the NFL season. Big situation going on in the World Baseball Classic Championship game. My prediction, Japan is leading the United States of America 3-1. In the bottom of the 6th, there's 2 outs. It's a 1-2 count to Newt Bar, and the bases are juiced.
Need a K from Adam right here.
And the pitch is foul. That was so anticlimactic. I was trying to build it up for some crazy situation. It just did not work. All right. Speaking of baseball, we've done the East divisions. You and Eric, thank you to Eric for hopping on, did the Central divisions. It's now time for the Wests. We're going to do the American League first, so you can get all your Mariner love out here. Last year, Houston once again just rolled through this whole damn division.
Right.
Won 106 games, won the World Series. They got through Seattle, the Yankees, and then Philadelphia. They did not lose a game in their 2 AL series. Seattle, made it back to the postseason,
Right.
got to host a playoff game for the first time in 20 years.
20 years. Yep.
As they went 90-72, swept Toronto on the road. It was very cool to see that, and then got swept by Houston. But again, as a Yankee fan, I know that feeling. Angels continue to underperform with two of the best players in the league, as that is under hit, and U.S. will get out of the inning. Texas was 4, Oakland was 5. We always do the 3 biggest offseason moves of the division, so Robert gave us 4, and I deleted one.
I can't remember what I had up there.
You had the Angels. You had one for each team. It made me laugh. Go ahead.
I think the big one is Texas trying to make a couple of big news. You know, Jacob getting signed along with Evaldi and Heaney. I think, will they be enough to move on? I think they're still going to sit down a little, but that gives them, I think, a really good ace for their staff.
If he stays healthy.
That's the big
which
one.
is difficult. But yes, Texas continues to make moves, and I really like to see what the Rangers are doing. It just continues to not work for them. Obviously, Seattle didn't go crazy this offseason, but they didn't lose a lot either. Adding Teoscar Hernandez and Colton Wong, good pieces for the team. It was interesting to see them get Hernandez with the outfield depth that you already had, especially now with Jared Kelenic kind of lighting up spring training. Again, it's spring training, so you can't go too far, but there's a lot of depth on that Seattle team in the outfield, which makes me wonder what kind of moves you're going to make during the season.
I think the big part about that one was, yes, that was a good move, but they also lost Mitch Haniger. But on the other hand, Mitch Haniger, injury prone,
up
and great batting from the left side. I think having Hernandez in the lineup is going to add a few more home runs. We'll talk about him here in a few more minutes, but I really want to see how Wong fits into the picture in the middle of the lineup, playing second base. Can he be that guy?
Would he be the middle of your lineup though?
I'm thinking he's probably going to be 4 or 5, somewhere right there.
But Wong's not that much of a power hitter.
I wouldn't, but I think that's probably where they're going to put him, looking at the lineups.
Be interesting. And then, of course, Houston continuing to do Houston things. They do lose Justin Verlander, which will hurt, especially at come the postseason. But they get a big bat and Jose Abreu and add him with Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve when he comes back from his broken hand or broken thumb. That lineup will continue just to be scary. But it's the Houston Astros. We've just become used to it. Who is your division MVP?
Until he gets shut down somehow, you just got to keep putting it in the hands of Shohei. I think what he's doing on the DH spot and pitching, every 5 days, 5.5, 6 days, until something happens. I think this year it's got to be a year that for LA they've got to do something.
Yes,
if they don't, I see him on the move.
And that is why I did not put him as my MVP, because I don't think the Angels are going to compete. As crazy as it sounds, with Trout and Ohtani on your team and a couple up-and-comer pitchers that'll go in there. I asked Alicia who her breakout star was, and she gave me a couple of names from LA. And I used one for my breakout star we'll get to in just a moment. I don't see the Angels in contention come July. And at that point, they really have to consider moving him, because people will pay a high price to get Ohtani for a couple of months. And then hopefully, in those couple of months, they're able to talk Ohtani into signing a long-term contract with them. But obviously it's going to take hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars to get Ohtani long-term. But there's going to be a team out there that's like, take all our prospects. We need Ohtani in the playoff chase right now, please. So it'll be interesting, but that's why he is not my MVP.
I kind of agree with that with
Kyle
Lewis. And it's interesting to see what has happened, transpired. But I agree. I like what he can do, what they can do, but hopefully this is one he proves himself. Give me my money. or send me to some place that's going to play and
Mhm.
give me a championship.
So my division MVP, and I hated to put it on here,
Thank you very much.
but I had I really had so much fun watching him.
Do you have the applause?
I don't have an applause
up
thing
yet?
on there, and right now the baseball game is in the way of all my buttons. But Julio Rodriguez, the outfielder for Seattle, I think he's going to be the division MVP. He was fantastic coming out on the scene last year. I think he's going to just continue to get better as he sees more and more of major league pitching. He is the star of Seattle, and they have added a couple of bats around him,
Right.
which will definitely help his output for sure. And I honestly have to say, Seattle's a scary team this year.
I 100%.
Not a sneaky team like we had last year, where I did not have them making the postseason, but I thought it would be close with the added wild card. And I think you even predicted them to be the team that took advantage of that extra wild card spot. It ended up being Tampa Bay because Seattle passed them late, but still being able to sneak into the playoffs last year. This year, I think they're a favorite to make it. But the question is, are they good enough to somehow finally catch the Houston Astros and win that division? I think it's closer than people think. And I'll get to my prediction in a minute, but it's closer than a lot of people think.
You hit on a lot of them. I think Cal Raleigh is going to be that guy behind the dish that's going to really benefit from Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray setting things up. But Ty France was back, going to be swinging. I know he's dealing with Dylan Moore's probably going to be out for a little bit. But
we don't need the whole roster.
Yeah, but interesting to see. It's going to be you know what you're getting when you get Suarez and Crawford and Kelenic is the one right now.
Depends on which side of Kelenic you see, for sure. All right, who is your breakout star?
I'm going to go there, and I'm going to take the guy from coming from Toronto, and I think Hernandez can do that. I mean, he batted .267. Get him out of in where he was at. I think
get him out of that good hitters back.
I think he hits better. I think he's going to hit. Honestly, I think he's going to be a 35-40, and I think he's going to be close to 100 RBIs.
I think because a little over the top with it.
I think he's going to be. I honestly think he's going to probably bat fourth behind Julio. I think that's where he will bat in the lineup. I think it'll give him opportunities to drive in runs.
I mean, he had those same opportunities in Toronto where he batted around Vlad.
Right.
So, I don't know. I think he's going to be a good fit. I think he'll be a good player for Seattle. I think he's going to break out from his 25 home runs. I thought you picked the wrong Seattle player, and I even put him on here, and now I forgot his last name. George Kirby. There you go. Kirby was his last. George Kirby.
Pitcher. He'll be probably the 3 guys or 4 guy.
Austin is leaving Friday and won't be back for a week.
Well, darny. So spring break doesn't work then. Well, we'll see.
We're making it work.
We'll get her.
That was disappointing. That was a bad text to get. You need a free up tomorrow. But George Kirby, your pitcher, I think he is going to take a pretty good step. I don't think he's going to be Cy Young by any means, but he's going to be a fantastic pitcher for Seattle.
I could see him being an 11-win, 12-win guy.
Maybe more than that. Because, again, he's not going to be your number one. Robbie Ray is going to be your one. So now he's not going to be facing the top-tier pitchers from all these teams. And especially with...
How about 1A and 1B?
The more balanced schedule now that the Major League Baseball has, and you're not playing Houston 18 times.
Thank God.
But you're not playing Oakland 18 times, so it kind of balances itself out. But I think George Kirby is going to be really good. But that's not the way I went. I went with Reed Detmers, starting pitcher for the Angels, which is funny because I still don't think the Angels are going to be very good. But he had that no-hitter last year against Tampa Bay. Sorry, Eric, to bring that back up. But then he struggled after that, really didn't get anything going. He got sent down to the minors in June, came back in July and knocked his ERA down by over a run and really was starting to figure things out. I think he takes that next step forward. Like I said, I asked Alicia, and she said she would have actually picked Patrick Sandoval, which was another one I was thinking about. I think the pitching rotation is going to be pretty good for the Angels. With that said, I'm going to have the Angels finish fourth in this division, and I do think that they are going to move away from Shohei Ohtani and trade him for some crazy prospect package from one of these teams. Oakland by far is going to finish last, even though I'll still be watching that just to see how Seth Brown's doing. Angels fourth. Rangers, I like the moves they made. Again, it all kind of comes down to DeGrom and his health, but the bats are pretty good on that team. Pitching staff got a lot better in the offseason. And while I was tempted to take your Mariners to go crazy and pass Houston to win the division, just because I'm tired of seeing Houston at the top, can't do it. I'll have Seattle 2 and Houston 1. And while we'll do our postseason predictions next week, spoilers, Seattle will be a part of it.
Yeah, I agree. You and I are in agreement first and second. I think it's going to be an easy take home for the Mariners to make playoffs. Can they get by Altuve with him out now? So, if the Mariners can jump on all of it. But you got Abreu there still.
Yeah.
Big bat. You got Alex Bregman.
Jordan.
Yeah. So I think they're still the number one. Mariners are 2. It's going to be close. But I think it's going to be closer between 3 and 4. I have actually have LA just above Texas, but I think they're right there. Right. I mean, the biggest part, I think Texas has made growth this year with DeGrom and what they're, but
do you have
Oakland,
either of
I
the,
just have
Oakland? No. Do you have either the Angels or the Rangers over 80 wins? Angels were at 73 last year.
I think they're going to be
Texas was at 68.
Just under. I think they're going to be in the 70s.
Okay, that's fair.
Low 70s.
That's fair. Real quick before we hit the top of the hour and get to our sports-related draft, which now hopefully Denny's hanging around too. Best all-star and exhibition game or tournament in sports.
Denny, you just got to vote for me.
Oh, jeez. What is that? Just horrible. But before we get into that, hit some LC sports real quick. Like I said, the LCSC Warrior Spring Invite just concluded today, 2-day tournament. The Warrior men won by 25 strokes as a team. Jorgen Lee Viken, I think. I apologize, Jorgen, if I said your name wrong. But he won the invitational or the individual award at 5 under. Devin Caruso was tied for 3rd in that tournament. Freshman Bryden Brown, who is as a local kid. It's either Moscow or Pullman. I'm blanking on my head. I want to say it's Moscow. Was tied for the lead after the first 2 rounds yesterday. Struggled a bit today. Finished for a tie for 6th. So the Warrior men did fantastic. The Warrior women, slightly better. Now it was only a 3-team tournament. College of Idaho or Corbin only brought 4 golfers instead of the needed 5 for the full team. And then one of them didn't compete the whole time. So it kind of messed things up. So it just ended up being a 3-team tournament, but the Warriors won by 87 strokes. That's quite a bit for a 2-round tournament for the women. And the Warriors finished 1, 2, 3, 4. Alexandra Schmidt led most of the way. She ended up winning the whole thing. She was 7 strokes ahead of teammate Deanna Caruso. How about Kyla Curry, who shot in the high 80s her first round, was 12 strokes better in the second round and improved all the way up to 3rd. And then Dallas Shockey finished 4th for LC. While the men did not make the NAIA tournament in basketball, College of Idaho from the Cascade Conference was the top overall seed, went all the way to win the championship, beating Indiana Tech 73-71. Had 3 players on the all-tournament team, and Charles Elzy ended up being the tournament MVP. Of course, their coach ends up being the coach of the year, which makes sense for winning the whole thing. And the women, while they did get knocked out in the round of 16, they lost to the eventual champions in Clark of Iowa. I don't know if that makes you feel any better for losing when you did.
With losing their best player.
Yeah. Who was just ridiculous in that game. Ubel was ridiculous against LC. He had like 20 some points in 15 minutes.
Yeah, 28, I think is what
first championship in Clark history. But there is good news for the LC women's team. Callie Stevens was named to the NAIA All-American second team. And I can confirm that when she was told the news, her and Alicia cried together again.
Yep. It's just awesome. I mean, you get one better than you were last year. I mean, she was third team last year, come up, make another one. I mean, she's just a junior. I mean,
she's very, very good.
Very good. Friend of the show, loves to talk sports, period.
Been on the show multiple times. I was there when she was given notice that she had won Cascade Conference Player of the Year because she didn't think she stood any chance. So I'm sure Alicia did it big again this morning when the news broke. I wasn't in the office when it happened, but I messaged Alicia and she said we cried.
That's awesome. Awesome. Congratulations, Callie.
Absolutely. You are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on LC Warrior Radio. Again, I don't think the website is fully up yet, so you can still check it out on klcz.com while that website is still up. Also, check us out on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Like us and follow us over there. Again, we are 30 followers away from 700. We're trying to finally get our 600 followers stretch goal completed. But if you've been listening fully, schedules just continue to not work out. But we will make that happen. And we need ideas from you for what we should do for 700. Denny Grubb has already said we should try to hit a curveball from an LC pitcher.
I was talking with Shanna the other day. And we were laughing back and forth when we were talking about getting hit by a pitch. I said, I don't want to go anywhere near you. I said, you hit me with a 55, 60 mile an hour a spike. I'm not going to go volleyball.
Do not give ideas of us getting drilled.
Oh, I tell you what, there's no way that I would. And I told her, I flat told her, I said,
do you understand how many of the volleyball players would volunteer
for that? They would love it. Kinsey would love it. They would
absolutely.
Today, Ashley Bachman had their takeover.
We say ideas, sir. All right. Now that I know Eric is back and Denny is hanging around, let's get into it. Our sports-related draft. The World Baseball Classic is going on. Again, if you missed the beginning of the show, I did say I stole this idea from Rich Eisen, one of my favorite shows to watch daily. They have an Overreaction Monday segment, and this was a question on there. What is the best all-star / exhibition game or tournament in sports? That is our topic this week. I picked the topic. Hagen, you get the first pick, and you fell right into my trap.
This is what happened last time, and I picked it, and you knew you took my one. So listen, it's going on right now. I mean, how involved you and I are right now, trying to keep our eyes on our notes and all that. And I keep looking over at watching Otani try to stretch one out here. I think that was Otani at the bat.
It's Otani. Go ahead.
So I'm going to World Baseball Classic. What it has done over the last couple of years. Yes, we had a little hiatus there, but I've already announced it's coming back 2026. A lot of these teams, and a lot of these teams are getting better. The competition has gotten a heck of a lot better. Mexico, Great Britain, not so much. Man. But Venezuela, I mean, you look at some of these teams and what they're putting out on the field is just phenomenal. And I think it's souping it up.
Listen, it's just so much better than spring training.
Right.
I don't watch spring training, and this has me absolutely hyped for the regular season.
Yep.
And we will talk about the injuries that have happened at the World Baseball Classic here shortly, and then the Believe It or Not segment. So we'll get into that. But this thing has had me absolutely hooked. I've loved the group stage thing that they've really implemented in, and been able to get more games in and get more teams involved. I like the fact that as long as you don't finish last in your group, you're guaranteed to be back next year. So there's kind of a relegation system with this World Baseball Classic, which kind of goes off of some of the soccer stuff that we have seen over there in Europe. I like a lot of the stuff they do. Do I wish it wasn't in the spring and maybe, after the season and we could get into it a little bit more? Maybe. Maybe some of the other players would play more because they're not worried about getting hurt going right into the season.
Well, most of these guys play winter ball anyway. So.
Absolutely. Which is why, I mean, yes, it's USA and Japan here in the finals, but Dominican Republic was so good.
Oh.
Cuba was in the semifinals. Venezuela was right up there as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of fantastic teams down there where they do play winter ball.
Right.
So, we'll see. But you missed the obvious one, and I thank you so much for it.
I just am not.
My first pick is the World Cup.
Oh, I thought you were going Tour de France.
I don't think that's an exhibition.
Well,
That's a competition. World Cup exhibition / all-star game. You get the best of the best together in the world. World Baseball Classic is called the World Cup of Baseball. It's because the World Cup is so big. It's the only time I really get into soccer is the World Cup. And you get absolutely into it. I still wish it would go to places that deserve it instead of like Qatar and stuff, but and the craziness that goes in there politically, but just on the field and the way the crowd gets into it, people travel so many miles to go to these World Cup games that are in one spot. World Baseball Classic is cool because everything kind of gets spread out early on and then all comes together over here in the States for the finals. But it's very cool that the World Cup will be here the next time we have the World Cup, and maybe you and I need to go witness one of these
didn't
games.
We talk about that? There was going to be Seattle was going to be
one of them. So. And look at some of the bids for 2030. I don't even want to look. But yes, World Cup is easily the best exhibition / all-star game or tournament in sports without even a doubt. So you fell into my trap.
I fell.
Though you did take the one that I do feel is the second most. So go ahead. Second round.
So for my second round, I'm going to take the NFL. The only reason why I bumped them above the one I took in my third round is I like the changes what happened this last year.
Flag football?
Well, no, not the flag football part, but all the bringing back the little bits. So, it's a weekend thing anymore. It's kind of like, NBA is all about the dunks and the 3-point contest and the game with no defense.
Yeah.
To score 200 to 210 or something like that. But
it's horrible.
I like the idea of what they're trying to bring the game back to. Not as much
I do give credit to the NFL, and a lot of people do make fun of it, and I'm teasing it right now. But I like that they just went, screw it, we're just going to have fun.
Exactly.
Because the game it doesn't look anything like the real game. So why even pretend that it is? Go crazy with flag football, have all the crazy events. I do think it's better than what it's been.
Hey, we're just going to do long snapper tic-tac-toe. That's the best part of what he did. By far.
Right. My second pick, I go to your baseball. You took it with the World Baseball Classic. Give me the MLB All-Star Game, only for the fact that is the only All-Star Game we have in America that is anywhere near similar to the actual product that we see regularly. Now, it got a little wonky there where everyone got upset there was a tie in an exhibition game. So now we have to make the game matter, and they decided the home field advantage for the World Series would be on this game, and it really kind of took the fun out of it. But hey, Denny, we'll get to it. But it's the closest to an actual game that we have for an all-star game here in America. So it was an easy second choice for me. How about your third?
For me, it had to boil down to the hockey one. I'm gonna take NHL. It doesn't get as much notoriety here as other sports in the U.S., but it's growing on me, and I think it's because I watched a little bit of it this year, but it's because we've got the Chiefs a little bit closer. We can go up and watch a game. There's something about having it in person. I think it's growing on me a little bit more with the Kraken being over here. I think it's just there. These guys still hit hard in their game. Yeah,
at times. I mean, if I remember right, they have different setups that they have for the NHL All-Star Game. I did not watch it this year, so I can't remember. But yeah, it's up there as well. I think I would put NHL over the NFL. For your dog-typed butt? Is that what you're saying, Denny? Denny commented butt. for those that are just listening, and then said that his dog typed it. So nice. It's a very talented dog.
Yeah, but NHL has their skills things too.
Yeah, the
and
skills
that's
is fine,
what's cool.
and to me, I see that as a separate thing. But they have a lot of fun with that. I
Mm-hmm.
would put the NHL over the NFL for sure, and I put the NHL well over the NBA. Which, by the way, I have the last pick, and it's not the NBA All-Star Game.
I'm shocked where you went with this.
So again, exhibition is key. So it's not a big end game for my final pick. I've gotten into it. I enjoy watching it. I like the mix and match that they do with celebrities.
The Live tournament?
When I was looking up hold on. This is great. When I was looking up exhibition sailing, calm down. How dare you? But when I was looking up different exhibition things to make sure I wasn't missing anything, somebody commented some golfer has said that Live is just an exhibition sport, which did make me laugh. But no, I did not pick Live. I picked the match that they put on TNT or whatever. You get a pro golfer. Sometimes two pro golfers or four golfers, 2v2. But a lot of the times it's a pro golfer and some other athlete together. And just the commentary that they have throughout this entire round is a lot of fun. I wasn't a big fan of the weird gimmick they did the last time where it was under the lights.
No,
that one didn't do it for me, because to me, I want to see. Phil Mickelson really did it for me, to be honest, where he was really able to break down different shots and broke down the game in a really entertaining way. Then you have all of the trash talk that goes on between the two teams, the trash talk that happens between the golfers and the people in the studio. To me, it was a lot of fun.
With you saying that brought back the memory of when it was in Montana this last time.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see a golf course without all the extra people around.
Yeah.
You see you and I have talked about this many times, golfing up at Bryden, and there's some nice courses around. Even up at Bryden, to look off of 11 at the very end down at the river and seeing beautiful landscape. I think that was the coolest part of when it was in Montana, is to look and see just the beautiful sceneries of hitting in there. So I mean,
and honestly, I think PGA's not the atmosphere, because you want the crowd there, but I think PGA is getting there a little bit more with letting us hear the conversations between caddy and golfer.
Are you talking about the video I sent you?
I said, well, yeah, the video of the golfer that was not mic'd up. It was just he was very loud. But like we see the stuff with Joel and Gino, that the Netflix series now. Gino, the video I sent you
God,
where
that was awesome.
He ended up being just a correspondent for the PGA for that final round, because Joel played so early in that tournament. They're getting a little bit more into the personalities with golf, and I think the match really gets into that. And I would like to see Joel Damon on the match just for fun, because I think he would be an absolute blast and the commentary would be fantastic.
With that being said, guess who got
Battle of the Network Stars? If that was still around, I would have went that route.
I do follow Joel on social media, and I got the like of a top badge today from him.
Congrats.
And this is awesome. I mean, now, dude, Joel, if you're listening, you got to come on the show.
Well, we got to get him on at some point. All right.
Gino.
So there you go. Let us know who won. Robert took the World Baseball Classic, the NFL Pro Bowl, and the NHL All-Star Game.
Let's say NFL weekend and NHL
Pro Bowl weekend. That's fair. For me, it was the World Cup, the MLB All-Star Game, All-Star weekend, if you will, and the match, which is a fantastic golfing. So
congratulations, sir. I know you won already.
Thank you. We mocked it in. If I don't win, this thing's rigged.
If Danny and Eric don't vote for you, I know Haley will vote for me because you didn't take sailing.
She's very disappointed that I did not take sailing again. Sailing backfired on me so bad that one week. I thought I was so clever. And you guys showed me that I was not clever at all.
All right, let us know in the comments if you're listening on YouTube and that. Drop us a line there too.
Let us know. All right, let's get into the women's March Madness while we wait for the votes to go in. What?
Whoa! Look.
Now we're
it's
tied.
Yep. I picked baseball too, there, sir. So he's
but the World Cup is better than
I went on the
Baseball Classic. So we're tied 1-1 now to get it really interesting. All right. women's March Madness. I've been able to slowly slip away from you, but
If-
our brackets are so much better in the women's.
I promise you, though, if I do win this, I will not go Joel Damon at Scottsdale on you.
Please
Just-
keep your shirt on. Maybe that's how I'll win. Robert said he'll take his shirt off if he wins the thing. So vote
No,
for me.
no.
Just pick somebody, silly. We'll get to it. Anyways, while we wait for all that stuff, I went 25-7
Yeah,
in the first round of the women's. I was pretty happy with that. You were 24-8, so it wasn't much worse. I have 11 of my Sweet 16 still in the tournament. You had 10 of 16. So right now I'm just 3 points ahead of you through the first 2 rounds. Very close. I've only lost one of my Elite 8, and I have my entire Final 4.
Right.
So I feel really good about that. You have 6 of your Elite 8 left, 3 of your Final 4, and you did lose 1 of your championship 2. But of course, we both had South Carolina as our champions, as Schwarber crushes one.
He hit 2 big, long foul balls.
And the lead is down to 1. And neither of us had any faith in Miami. That is
Sorry,
fair.
Eric.
That's actually slightly not true. I had Miami winning 1 game on the women's bracket. Robert did not.
I didn't.
That was our difference in the opening round. So again, I'm only 3 points ahead of you. I have more players available. Changed my vote for shirtless Robert. That backfired on me. This is a PG show, sir. PG show. Again, like the men's bracket, for us, it really comes down to a couple of games. Sweet 16, LSU versus Utah. I took Utah, you took LSU. So there is 4 points available right there. We're only 3 points different. And then a possible Virginia Tech UConn Elite 8 game will be big point differences. But for me, like you have with Alabama winning the whole thing, it's Villanova for me.
Right.
They are playing Miami. So I know you will now have faith in the Canes, like Eric has said. But if I have Villanova in the Final 4, you had Indiana in the Final 4, and they have already been knocked out by Miami. So if any game that Villanova can win over this next weekend is huge points for me and could really swing the tide. So it's very, very close. Both of these will come right down to the wire, and we possibly might not know winners until next week, or even next week.
Right.
But as kind of predicted, and why we're doing so well, it was a bit more chalk on the women's side. They did lose 2 1 seeds like the men. Indiana lost to Miami. Louisville lost to Ole Miss. That one I think was more shocking to me. But the Greenville 1 and the Seattle 3 brackets, I hate these names, all saw the top 4 seeds advance to the Sweet 16. I don't think we had that once in the men's bracket, did we?
I don't think so, no.
And then the one crazy bracket was the Seattle 4, which has the 2, 5, 6, and 8 seeds left. Do you expect any craziness this weekend on the women's side, or are we going to see a lot of the 1s and 2s move on?
The one that I'm interested in, and that is it's a Friday game, is Ole Miss and Louisville. What happened there with Stanford falling down? They knocked out. Ole Miss knocked them out quickly. I mean, that's the only side I think. And we talked about if South Carolina's to lose, and South Carolina is showing right now why they are playing the way that they are playing. It's phenomenal to see what this team is doing.
There you go. Danny says that the South Carolina women would be a 6 seed in the men's bracket. I think that's pretty impressive. And no, 1, 2, 3, 4 did not happen in the men's bracket. The Midwest with Miami was a 1, 2, 3, 5. Miami messed up the 1, 2, 3, 4 by beating Indiana. So Miami's just messing up all sorts of stuff in a good way, for sure. So we will see how that all goes next week. Maybe we will know which one of us will have won the bracket challenges. Maybe not. And we will see. We'll have Final Fours set.
Final Fours
by next week. All right. So let's get back into our topic, which again, World Baseball Classic was the reason for our sports related draft. I've had so much fun watching these games, especially the 2 semifinals games. USA was in trouble against Cuba in that semifinal, where Adam Wainwright had the bases loaded, walked in a run. There was still nobody out. That game could have went completely crazy, like an LC game we saw on Sunday.
Or on Saturday
Right.
to start.
But Wainwright was able to right the ship, only give up the one run, and then USA went absolutely ballistic, ended up winning that one 14-2. Meanwhile, Japan and Mexico kept going back and forth. That game was nuts. I was able to watch the last 2 or 3 innings of that live, and then went back and watched the highlights. But Japan comes up down by 1 in the bottom of the 9th. Otani doubles, the next batter walks, and then the guy that is nicknamed Babe Ruth for this Japanese team, who they were talking about maybe pinch hitting for because he's really struggled in this tournament. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. I forgot to put it on there. Crushes one off the wall into center field, and both runners score. If you have not seen it, they had a pinch runner at first, and he nearly got to home plate as Otani did. He was literally 2 steps behind him, even though he was 90 feet behind him to start. It was crazy that they were both able to score that quickly. Fantastic finish. If you have time, look up the Japanese broadcasters called that last play. To say they were slightly excited and slightly biased is an understatement, but it was a lot of fun just to hear them yell and scream and lose their minds.
I wish I would have been able to see it. I did not get a chance to watch that one at all, and I'm pulling up the box score from.
But yeah, I have to say it's so much better than spring training.
Makamura, no. Murakami.
There you go.
Murakami. He's the third baseman for Japanese team.
So we still have the game up. Japan is up by 1. That was my prediction. So I'm in this weird split of wanting to be right and wanting the U.S. to win. Either way, my prediction made it to the championship game. Eric,
my team
Robert,
made it far. Mine made it farther than Eric's did.
No, it didn't.
It had a better record.
But it doesn't matter about record. Did you get out of the group stage?
No.
Yeah. Eric and Robert both made predictions while I was gone, and neither of them got out of the group stage. I made it to the championship game, so that's a win for me. Let's have some fun with Believe It or Not World Baseball Classic Edition. You want to have a little bit of fun?
All right, let's do it.
I don't have my buttons because we're watching the game, so we don't have any of the fun sounders. But doing the tournament after the season would be better than before the season, believe it or not.
It's one of those, I think, catch-22s with both of them. Like I said, it's not a lot of those. The Mexican team, Puerto Rico, Dominican, they all play winter ball. So there are a lot of those guys that go back at the end anyway. So whether you play it before your season or after your season, it doesn't matter. For me,
my man is on the mound. I like it.
For me, I feel like this is okay. Getting me fired up, ready to go, ready to watch it. So I think it should stay at the beginning.
While I have said that part of me wishes it would be after the season, I have come to really like it before the season.
And look who's up.
Yeah, Murica. He had a home run earlier today too. Because to go playoffs, World Series, and then World Baseball Classic, that's too much postseason baseball for me. And those players that made it to the World Series would not want to play the World Baseball Classic at all. Now, there's a lot of stars that still don't play in these and would rather go through their normal spring training stuff. So maybe it evens out there. But just excitement levels, this is like the Daytona 500 is for NASCAR. This gets you going to start the year. Like I'm a big baseball fan. I am ready for that opening day and watching all of the Yankee games that I can and a bunch of other stuff throughout the day. This has me even more excited because you're watching games that matter. And it doesn't just matter because all of these games are competitive and stuff. Just go watch these games and watch the crowd. Watch the players. The players are so into it.
Go to Pool A, the one that started everything off. Pool A, you look at it, and the guys in Chinese Taipei, there was one guy that was at every game, and you could hear him cheering, and it didn't matter which team it was. He was having a great time. Just the emotion of what this was doing for other teams. And we're talking about a pool that every one of the teams went 2-2.
Yeah.
So,
but anytime there's a home run in the month of April in the regular season, just a normal home run, watch the reaction of the players, and then go back to this World Baseball Classic and watch any home run. And the reaction is just different. Like, they really care about winning this World Baseball Classic. And it's very cool to see. And I'm happy it's only every 3 years, because then I think it would stale out.
Right.
If it was every year. It is kind of like the World Cup that way, where you want it to have anticipation, but it is such a cool way to start.
And you know the reasoning behind all this and why they do the World Cup is because, you know, they didn't want to bring it into the Olympics, and the Olympics committee didn't want to have it there. How does the Olympic committee now feel knowing that, hey, maybe we messed up?
Eric does make a good point that they do a good job of picking the pool sites.
Right. And I agree with that.
don't think the atmosphere for baseball would be the same at the Olympics, because that's all at one site. It would all get spread out. So all these different teams would be playing all at the same time. You would just kind of get your Olympic goers that would be watching, not the baseball fanatics that you have here, because like Eric said, they pick the best sites to really get the best atmosphere.
Yeah. And I agree with Denny. Like he said, you know, warm climates, it's easy time, get those guys out of the pennant races. It's just totally different look. So yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely working. And that brings me up to the next question, because there have been some concerns of people like Keith Olbermann have lost their minds over this stuff. And people may want to go back and look at my rants in August for the NFL preseason and injuries. But believe it or not, injuries that happen at the World Baseball Classic are not on the same level of annoyance as injuries in preseason.
They're both annoying.
Well, injuries at any point is annoying. People get injured in spring training, and it's annoying, and that sucks, and nobody wants injuries to happen. I went on the rant because Zach Wilson got hurt. Turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because we had less time of looking at Zach Wilson.
Right.
But like I said, the first question, these games matter. So if you get hurt in a game that matters, or in Edwin Diaz's situation, after a game that matters, when you were celebrating a win and just a freak accident. He wasn't even jumping it up and down that crazily. It just was a freak accident that happened. Altuve got hit in the hand. That could have happened in spring training. So I know a lot of people are blaming the World Baseball Classic for all of these injuries. The injuries are going to happen, but at least they're doing it in games that matter now,
right,
instead of just the spring training. So I think anybody that argues that we should not have the World Baseball Classic before the season because of these injuries, like, I give credit to Major League Baseball and the people that put this tournament together. They have a lot of strict regulations, especially for pitchers in this tournament, and has made it difficult for some teams to kind of work around, but it's for the players' safety as they ramp up to get ready for the year.
I agree. But the main one is they were just showing in on Williams really close. There's something about having that color of red, white, and blue on your chest, or the color on your hat, on the sleeve of your shirt. There's so much pride of playing for the U.S. There's so much pride for Ohtani going back to playing for his country, his nation. And, you know, like we're talking, you know, each of these pools lose out one team this next year. You think about, okay, man, which team are you going to bring in for next year to hype them back up? Play. Right, but to hype them back up. But there's something about playing for your native land. I mean, and that's the big thing, watching these guys. And you said the celebration. I mean, after Trey Turner hit the grand slam there a couple nights ago, it was like, it reminded me, and the analogy, I hope I don't offend anybody because of it, but the idea of watching a women's college softball game, when they have a big hit or they hit a home run, man, they're out there celebrating, and they're at the plate waiting. You're seeing that same fire from these guys because you're playing for your nation. It's just something awesome. I think that's it's a lot more prideful in knowing and instead of, this is only game 110. We still got that's, I think, okay, big difference. I mean, playing possibly do the math in my head, 10 games compared to 162. They matter. They matter.
And again, they get things spread out enough where it would feel like they were just playing their spring training games. And yes, the intensity of these games are a little higher, so the chances of pulling things is up there. But honestly, it hasn't been that bad. Again, I mean, Freddie Freeman had pulled something and was a little banged up. Well, we had the fluke injury with Diaz, and then Altuve gets hit by a pitch. But I mean, Carlos Rodon is not playing in the World Baseball Classic. He's hurt. He's going to miss the first month or so. So it happens everywhere, and I'm okay with it. However, my final question here, believe it or not, the Major League Baseball playoffs will be affected by the injuries that have taken place in the World Baseball Classic.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so, other than Diaz. I mean, I think he's
that's why the question is there.
Yeah, so I don't think it's going to be a big one. Oh, he's got him. Oh, wow.
It's a close play at second. But no, obviously the Mets losing Diaz, you got to think they are a favorite to make the postseason in the National League. To lose their star closer will be very big. Obviously, I would expect for them to trade for somebody throughout the season, and they will still be just fine. Does missing Altuve for possibly 2 months affect Houston in the beginning of that season and give Seattle slightly more of a chance
as a Mariner fan
to get up there?
Yeah. As a Mariner fan, I don't mean this bad, but I hope so. But jump on.
But also, will we see some of these players that played in the World Baseball Classic wear down throughout the year and then have issues in the playoffs? But yeah, I agree with Derek. Will it affect it? Yeah, but dramatically, no. One is the most obvious example that we will have. But it'll be interesting to see if some of these pitchers who have pitched in more intense situations here in a spring training timeline maybe wear down a little sooner because they ramped up faster. And come August, we've seen a lot of pitchers start to struggle. We'll see if that happens with some of these arms. We will see. Again, they take a lot of precautions for this World Baseball Classic, so hopefully it's not the case, but something to keep an eye out on. Let's keep it with baseball, and let's talk about some LC, because their weekend with Corbin on paper should have been simple.
Should have been.
It was not simple.
15-3 versus 5-12. 12-13.
5 and a lot.
Yeah.
But the bats for Corbin were fun to watch. They had some pop to their bats as well, and the top part of their lineup was fantastic. Pitching struggled, other than apparently the second game on Saturday, which I didn't get to see. But from what I've been told, LC was just asleep for that game.
Yeah.
But Warriors win the first game on Saturday, 15-5 in 8 innings, though the drama was building up to the 7th because they were up by 10 and they had given up 0 hits. And then what happened?
Yeah, 0 hits and made a pitching change and come up first. Danny will have to correct me whether first or second batters come up. First batter come up and base hit right back out. And so it was. So the no hitter was gone, but and then we give up a run. So then the 10 run
rule was gone for a bit.
But I think the bigger thing was also, and you said it, but listen, 6 runs on 10 pitches for LC in the first inning. They got to the starter quickly against Corbin and 4 home runs in those 10 pitches. So just phenomenal to see the bats of that first game. And then the second game, it was like
nothing there.
Nothing.
Yeah, Corbin actually pulled the upset off. Second game on Saturday, as Corbin won at 7-1. I was going to say Warriors, but obviously they're both Warriors.
Yep.
And then on Sunday, I was there for the first game to call it for the radio. And again, I thank Brian Danner for allowing me some practice before we get to the World Series. And boy, did I get my money's worth in this game. Well over 3 hours. The first inning took 45 minutes as Corbin put up 7 runs in the top half of the first inning, chased the Warrior starter out of the game. And by the 4th inning, Corbin was leading 13-3, which I don't know if Denny, if you ever found the solution, but he was scrambling to find the last time that LC had been 10-run ruled. And I know he was looking that up, and I was kind of listening, hearing it in between innings where they were discussing that stuff.
Mhm.
And then the Warriors or LC Warriors really got the bats going. They scored 5 runs in the 4th. I want to say 3 in the 5th, 2 more in the 6th, and ended up tying it in the 7th. Gave up a run to Corbin, which gave him the lead right back, and then just started crushing it again. Ended up winning the game 18-14, and it was the biggest comeback victory in LC history. They had come back from 9 twice, including a few years ago, and able to come back from 10 on Sunday. And then the Bats just continued to go as they won 14-5 in the second game of that doubleheader. So in those 2 games on Sunday, LC had 8 home runs, 32 runs, and 43 hits. It's okay. It's not bad.
And we've talked about this. This team is fun to watch when they're playing well. As
Shohei Ohtani is coming in to pitch the 9th inning for Japan to try to close out the World Baseball Classic. This is awesome.
And I think Mike Trout is on. I think he is.
This
on
is
deck.
good stuff. I love to see it. So a good weekend for LC for the most part. They go on the road to British Columbia next weekend, though I have been told the weather is not supposed to be fantastic up there. So we will see how many of those games they actually are able to get in. I believe it's McNeil, Betts, and Trout due up, right?
That's what I just pulled up.
It's going to be interesting.
They're pinch hitting for Tim Anderson with McNeil.
Yeah. They're both good.
Yeah.
All right, let's get in back to the Major League Baseball. Let's get into the NL West, where the Dodgers destroyed that division. 111 wins. Everyone else really kind of fell off the planet last year, but the Padres did get revenge, and they were able to beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. They went 89-73 in the regular season. Giants missed the playoffs, going 81-81. Diamondbacks went 74-88, and the Rockies went 68-94. And now Denny Grubb has given us a trivia question. What year was the last time LC threw a 9-inning no-hitter at home? Closest guess wins a baseball card of the pitcher. So there's something on the line here, sir.
Yeah,
Would you like to go first or second?
No, I want to go second.
I'm going to say 1989.
I'm going to say 93.
So we were pretty close to
93.
each other. So I have to hope it's been a while, or Robert just stole a baseball card from me. But we will see what the answer is from Denny. Haley says 1986. She's trying to steal a card from me.
I tell you what,
now I'm in the middle of all this stuff. 92, you get it. By 1 year. Nice.
The 90-91 years were pretty good years of the team. That's when I came over and watched. So
can't even be mad about that prediction. Again, the Dodgers completely destroyed last year. A couple of the big moves that happened in the offseason. San Diego continued to load up. Obviously, they got Soto mid-season last year and were able to re-sign him. Then they added Xander Bogaerts and Seth Lugo and Matt Carpenter, who's going to be a role player there for sure.
And they signed Machado for big money.
Oh, yeah.
Big money.
They are not afraid to spend money in San Diego. Dodgers got Syndergaard and Martinez, but they do lose Trey and Justin Turner. I think they lost more than they gained during the offseason. Maybe that brings them back down a little bit. And then the Giants do get Carlos Correa and Seattle Mariners Mitch Haniger, but they do lose Carlos Rodon. So a lot of teams kind of made some positive moves, some negative moves. Vic Derensburg was the LC pitcher, and you'll have a card in the mail, maybe.
I'll see him on the first.
As it's 3-1 to McNeil. Nobody out. Top of the ninth. Japan with a 1-run lead.
Ohtani just threw 100 miles an hour at the top of the zone a second ago. Crazy.
Absolutely. All right. Who is your division MVP?
For me, I just said his name a minute ago. He got paid.
Yep.
Manny Machado. I think now that he knows he's set in there for a little bit, And the big part, San Diego made some move, getting Bogarts, getting Carpenter there. I think that's going to be huge for this team.
I'm going to stay with the same team. Give me the other guy that got paid. Juan Soto came from Washington to San Diego. He did have a left oblique strain yesterday, so we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe that really hurts my pick. But he really struggled last year between the move from Washington to San Diego. I don't know if he was putting too much pressure on himself when he got to San Diego. He did help them get all the way to the NLCS where they lost to Philadelphia. I think he has a fantastic bounce back year as long as he's healthy. And he will be the MVP for that Padres team, who's going to be really, really scary. They're so scary on paper, but they're kind of like the Angels sometimes where this is why we don't play games on paper. How about your breakout star?
I'm going to take a young kid. And yes, here we go. I'm going back to Toronto, bringing in, making moves, and they sent Gabriel Moreno to Arizona. I think he's going to be that guy behind the dish. I mean, in 25 games, so 69 at bats, he was batting over 300, 320. Ohtani gives up a walk.
Lucky pitch.
7 RBIs. Yes, small data, only 69 at bats, but I think being youthful, having really going to be that face there. I think that's going to be something good for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, having the high batting average is obviously good. Only had the 1 home run, but if anybody's ever seen that Diamondback Stadium, it is tough to hit home runs there because center field's like 420 feet out there with a big wall. Bobby Witt Jr. getting ready to run.
The speedster.
Will we have more late inning drama? By the way, I know we've talked about this before. Mark DeRosa needs to be a manager
somewhere
in the Major League Baseball world next year, and it needs to be the New York Yankees because I'm still tired of Aaron Boone. But he's so good, and I'm so glad that he's been able to get this opportunity, and he's making the most of it. He's so much fun. He was just on our screen, and it reminded me of that. For me, I'm also taking a young player from the Los Angeles Dodgers who I think is going to take advantage of somebody like Justin Turner leaving. Freddie Freeman again got banged up at the World Baseball Classic, so that might create an opening. Looks like Japan is going to turn your old 4-6-3 double play, and now it will be Ohtani versus Trout with 2 outs in the 9th.
My question is, what is Alicia doing right now, knowing that Ohtani is going to be
begging that Ohtani doesn't peg Trout? We're going to find out if Trout and Ohtani are friends right here. If Ohtani just throws it at his head in this situation,
my
maybe
question
there's
is,
drama.
Do they smile? Do they smile? He nodded at him. So, I mean,
they've got to love this.
Yes. I mean,
big situation. They'll be talking about this all season long, whoever comes out on top. But for me, it's Miguel Vargas, infielder for the Dodgers. He's listed as a first baseman. For everything I've been seeing, there's a good chance he'll be their starting second baseman for LA. And again, he can kind of move around and shift. Only played 18 games last year. Didn't have the highest of averages, but from everything that I've been reading, he's one of those players that the Dodgers are very high on. And now you get him around the Mookie Betts and can kind of just be in that role player situation. Not a ton of pressure on him. So Ohtani hits 100 miles an hour. I think Vargas is going to be your breakout star for LA. All right, give me your standings prediction for the NL West.
I think it's easy for the bottom 2. It's going to be Arizona and Colorado at the bottom. Just no-brainer. For me, I'm going to put San Francisco next. Yes,
I think that's a no-brainer too.
They've made a couple of moves, but they've lost a little bit more than that. Again, I think it's still the Dodgers to lose, even though losing Turner and that, but I think they're going to be within a few games of each other. I don't think it's going to be far enough apart, but I'm going to put LA first and San Diego second.
For me, I'm right there with you. I think Colorado by far will be the worst team in this division. Arizona would be locked in 4th. And I don't think San Francisco has any chance this year of keeping up with the Padres or Dodgers. I did say that 2 years ago, and it backfired greatly where the Giants just continued to be up at the top of that list and just never went away. But I really believe it this year. And I'm going to go for the semi-upset. Padres continue to never live up to the expectations. I do think they will this year. Give me San Diego over the Dodgers to win the NL West. 2-2 count, Ohtani versus Trout. And that pitch was not close, but it was 102 miles an hour. So it'll be a full count with the game, the championship on the line, and 2 Angels players that have never seen MLB postseason life ever. And in their biggest moments
of their careers, hands down.
On American soil. I'm sure Ohtani's had some key Japanese playoff baseball, you would think, with how good he has been. Let's go to some high school baseball as we have our payoff pitch. Oh, Ohtani with a 6 slider. And I got the prediction correct. Japan, it's your World Baseball Classic champions. Ohtani, greater than Trout. There you go. Lewiston had their first home baseball games this weekend. They had went 1-1 going in, and I still think this team could be pretty good from watching their games. They had too many mental mistakes against Lake City, Lake City was not a good team last year, but they have a couple of pitchers on that team that are going to make the Timberwolves a possible Inland Empire League champion this year. Lake City does win both of those games 8-3 and 8-5, but there were too many instances that I saw not only one player, but the entire team have no idea how many outs there were. I have never in my life seen a player throw a third strike for the third out and not a single member of the team move towards dugout. Not one. And then an inning or two before that, they pulled a double play with nobody out, and the entire infield ran off the field. So there was a couple of mental mistakes. They'll get that stuff figured out. I have a lot of faith in Darren Trainer up there. They will go down to Eagle, Idaho, 4-game tournament over 2 days and really get themselves going. Their next home date will actually kind of screw up our schedule because if they have to schedule Tuesday games, but April 4th, it's a Tuesday. They have a doubleheader starting at 2. So that date, I think, will just start a little bit late depending on those games. So we may not start right at 6, but it'll be shortly after, and that'll be an at-home one just because then I'm only a couple blocks away. And then softball got their season started. I didn't get to see any of that because they were playing at the same time, but they struggled against LeGrand. They lost both of those games 11-4 and 19-9. They also will have a tournament down in Eagle next weekend and hopefully get themselves more on the winning track.
No, don't do that, Eric. Don't be telling me that.
Oh my goodness.
Don't be telling me
I'm
that.
going to be looking it up. I'm going to look it up while you tell me about Clarkson.
So we'll talk about Clarkson really quick. The baseball team came out with a couple big wins this past week. They took care of Grangeville on Thursday, won that one 13-6, on Wednesday, and then defeated Deer Park on Saturday 5-3. So they're 2-0 on the season. They've got a game this Thursday on the road. And wow.
And focus on you. Focus on you.
They will be traveling up to or have a game on Thursday at Adams Field. They'll be taking on East Valley. East Valley has struggled over the last couple years, so should be a pretty easy win. For softball, the softball girls and won on last week, defeated Orofino 16-0, and they ended up going over to Ephrata and on a couple of teams handled Prosser quite well, 24-2, and then lost to Ording team 11-9. But I talked to Coach James York, says this team is looking very good. So look for the Clarkson Bantam girls to do well. But tonight they did have a game, and they ended up coming up just short. Gave up had a second inning that was a little rough, according to the text I'm getting. They lost that one 13-9. They are in East Valley on Thursday, so and then they have spring break off, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks.
So hearing Eric put in that possible breaking news, how do you feel?
I don't like it. I mean, I really.
Darkness, my old friend.
Need to zoom in on you.
Really? No.
Okay.
No, not nice. Not nice. I don't know where he's getting his information from, but
Twitter.
Bunch of trolls. That's all I'm going to say. Twitter is all about the trolls.
No, I said, are you ready?
No.
For Tyler Huntley.
No. We're gonna keep going. Hey, CHS Track, they had the Sweeney Open invite this past week at Lewiston. Coach at McElroy, friend of the show, good buddy of ours, at the 40 athletes. So lots of guys. They had a day, hopefully from them here shortly.
My thing is all first. There it is. Things are going all weird over here. All right, let's get into some other sports as we finish off the show. PBA had their crazy Tournament of Champions, and it gave me an idea. I really want to do a giant step ladder at some point, do some kind of a tournament here where we do a bunch of games to qualify, and then we just have one giant step ladder because it was so fun to watch.
I was going to say, were you impressed with having, 14 guys?
17.
17
There's a 17-person tournament, and they worked their way up. And for the most part, some of the matches were not great. And then they got to Belmonte, and Doof and I were messaging back and forth, and we both basically said that once Belmo got into basically the final TV taping, so they did 4 matches each TV taping. Once he got into that final 4, we both went, that's the one guy that those people did not want to see. Kyle Troop would have been difficult too, but Belmo in these situations, 15 majors now as he went through all 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he won, 6 matches to end up winning his 15th major, 4 Tournament of Champions. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest bowler of all time. I don't think there's any question anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, it's fun to more think of like the older bowlers, and we can talk about equipment. We can go two-hand versus one-hand, all that. Belmo is the greatest of all time, and I don't even think it's even close anymore.
Yeah, it's his record now with the Tournament Champions. I think he's tied with USBC Masters. Mm-hmm. It was just impressive watching what he could do on that shot. And that's a 40-foot pattern, and that was very, very broke. The guys where they were playing, you had a couple. Sterner was on the outside, trying to play the outside of it. On my blank now.
Ogle.
Marshall was on the outside, the Yakima boy. He tried to play a little bit on the outside. His speed was a little bit too much. I think the big thing was a stat that they threw up there. 23 shots missed the headpin in all of those games.
It was a tough shot.
I mean, that's hard for a professional to miss the headpin.
Packy missed the 3-pin once. He threw it so far outside.
There was a guy that missed the 5-pin.
No. I meant,
I
meant he missed the 3-pin on his first shot.
Oh, yeah.
He threw it so far outside, he got 3.
There was a few of those.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but what Belmo does is he makes you have to be perfect. And you saw it in those matches where one missed shot completely derailed you mentally. That's me in one game. Completely derail you mentally, and you're unable to get your feet back together, and then it just kind of snowballed. It snowballed on EJ Tackett. He had one bad shot, and he just knew it was over. And Belmo goes out, shoots 246 to prove that it's over. So I absolutely love the step ladder for. I'm glad it's only once a year because it's one of those special things that they do. The USBC Masters is next week, so we're really getting into the bigger tournaments of the season. And I have to say real quick, I don't know how much of it you got to watch. Norm Duke is the third man on the booth. Fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I sat and watched all of them last night. So as soon as you had texted me about the other, I started watching that. But Kokomo Classic this week. Next week, April 1st. Gotcha. April 1st starts the U.S. Masters. But yeah, I mean, this guy is the best of all time. I mean, you could throw Walter Ray, you could say some of those, but
they're all battling for second.
Parker Bone finished that tournament dead last week. Yeah, he didn't even make the 17. So I mean,
it is what
it is. Yep,
all right, exactly. Aussie rules football week 1 has happened.
Yes, it has.
And you and me and Eric all want to redo.
Yeah, 100%.
Geelong gets beat by Collingwood 125-103. Geelong
Scored
could
4
not
points in the fourth.
Geelong could not miss for 3 quarters.
Yeah.
I want to say they had one behind in 3 quarters, which
so.
again, if you are just joining us for the first time and you've not caught us talking about Aussie rules football, and or if you just don't know anything about the sport, with Aussie rules football, there's 2 sets of goals. Your 2 middle ones, if you kick it between those, it's worth 6 points. You kick them within the outer posts, it's worth 1 point. That's called a behind. Geelong just was not having any behinds. Every time they kicked it towards the goal, it went between the middle 2 posts over and over and over and over again. I think Collingwood, I got to watch a good amount of this game, was outplaying Geelong the entire time. But Geelong just continued to put 6 points up every time they had the opportunity. Collingwood had a bunch of behinds early on. But it's always fun to then take the scores and you take just how many goals you scored and how many behinds you scored and add those together. And to me, it kind of shows you how dominant you were in the game, or how many opportunities you had. And Collingwood just crushed them.
Geelong had 7 behinds.
Yeah. That was all in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Well, no, they only scored 4. Yeah.
Well, then the second half.
Yep.
Because they had 1 for the longest time. And then Collingwood got things going. There's a scary injury in that game where a Collingwood player broke his arm.
I didn't even rewind it to watch it.
No, he came down in a not a fun fashion. Give credit to whatever
AFL,
broadcast was, where they really weren't going. The NFL, we would have watched it 37 times in 27 different angles, but not there. Eric's Western team lost to Melbourne 115-65. Hawthorn made it even worse, losing to Essendon 124-65. Hawthorn was actually winning at the beginning of the game. They put up a bunch of goals in the first quarter. Gave me hope because Hawthorn had the longest winning streak in week 1s currently, and that snapped quickly because boy, did that fall apart. Pretty cool to see a very first game of the year and in a tie, 58 each. Where was it? I forget which side it was now that scored within like the last minute or so. It was a very close contest for a fun little week 1 there. So we're into it.
Yes.
Week 1 is done. Now we're into the season. You were back on FS2 early Thursday morning against Carleton, who ended up with a tie. So they're going to be bitter. Western also on FS2 early Saturday morning against St. Kilda, who is 1-0 on the year. And Hawthorn gets Sydney, and luckily that one is not on TV, even though it's at a beautiful time of 7 p.m. Saturday, while I am working at the casino. So I would be perfect time for me to watch it. It's not on TV. I'll probably find some way to watch it for a second. Hawthorn's going to lose by 60.
Yeah, I've been talking this sport up over the last couple of days. Man, you got to watch. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And then so people are asking, well, what's different about it? I'm like,
you just got to check it out.
And
it's
that was with
that
was with Shanna and Noah up there with me. I pulled up
just
the video of it and watch these guys, and it's crazy.
It is a mix of so many other sports, and it's just so much fun to watch. Other sports that don't get enough airtime. Well, really quick. U of I, their men's basketball program, got a new coach in Alex Pribble. He was with, I want to say, Eastern Washington at
Seattle,
one point. And then he went over to the Seattle University as an associate head coach. We will see what he is able to do there. I still think Zach Eastman is the man for that job, but maybe he's not quite ready because he's still in smaller high school. And of course, U of I is not going to be looking towards that. But that is still my prediction. One day, Zach Eastman will be the head coach up there. Clearwater Combat. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk about our training at some point, but with the schedule thing that I had just been told, maybe not as soon as we were hoping, but maybe at some point near the end of spring break, we will be able to do that. A ton of bouts for the April 29th card. We will be there for me still with black eyes from our tradition.
Yeah, he was there.
So it'll be great. What did happen in golf?
Golf was a decent weekend. Come down to the final 2. Adam Shank and Jordan Spieth were the 2 that it was the main watch on there. Adam, just both of them coming into that 6th or 18th. Jordan was not able to hit a par putt and then ended up 3-putting and drops all the way to 3rd. But Adam Shank had a long par to make, and he missed and bogeyed that one. So Taylor Moore comes up out of nowhere, shooting 4 under on Sunday to end up claiming his first title on the PGA.
And then you have the match play one next week. Is Joel in that field?
I believe he's going to be at the where he played a few years ago.
Oh, where he won.
He is scheduled to play at 9/11 Pacific time at the Corrales Punta Cana, where he won 2 years ago.
Yep, his one and only PGA championship. Hopefully, he can do well down there as well. NASCAR. I hate what they did with Atlanta. I still do. I know it's a couple years in, but this weird restrictor plate, they're going 170 miles an hour. It's not the same as Daytona and Talladega. I can't stand it. I want them to go back to where they're going 200 miles an hour and they're right on the edge, and tires become a major issue, and there's a lot of strategy involved.
The line that they were playing was a lot there too, watching them bounce around. Joey Logano staying on the bottom side, and then major move up to the top. And
yeah, Keselowski was leading until the end, and I loved how they were talking about it, where Keselowski even said he wanted to be second going into the final lap. He was first, and the driver that was second at that time, Joey Logano, made a fantastic move, got by him, ended up winning the race. Christopher Bell finished third. Up next, the Circuit of the Americas, pretty fun little road course. Again, if you've never seen that, the very first turn, they go up this giant hill and then take a ridiculous angle. I want to say it's like 110 degrees, where it's just a really hard left turn. And it always is interesting because some people will miss the brakes and go off into this dump area and try to get themselves turned around. So there you go. That is it for our 126th edition of the show. Next week, we will know the final four. All right, for both the women's and men's March Madness tournament. We will do our MLB award and playoff predictions. So tune in to find out who we think will make it to the World Series, so you can bet on anyone else, because our predictions never go right on this show. We'll have some more fun with the NFL offseason. Maybe Lamar will have moved by then. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will finally get traded to the Jets by then. We don't know. We'll see. Plus all the other local sports, and we'll have some fun. Sports-related draft also in tow. Do we count it as a win for you? You kept your shirt on, so Denny kept his vote with me, I think.
I think we were
just keep it a tie.
I think we'll keep it a tie.
Do we need to post it back on our Facebook page and go back that route? I don't know. Right now, we'll call it a tie for now. So Robert has the obligation to come up with next week's draft, but that is
throw that out there. If you have something that you want us to vote on, throw it in, post it in our comments. Go to our page, drop us a line there, and let us know who should we draft next. Maybe that's what we just do.
Yeah, just post it on there. You said that you could do polls again, right?
Yeah, do polls.
Do that. We will do that, and we will bring that to you next week. I was going to say hopefully we were going to be able to talk about our training session, but it seems like schedules are not going to work this week. So hopefully soon it will. Again, we're getting very, very close to 700 followers, and we thank you guys so much for that. But this is it for this episode. That's Robert. I'm Randy. This is the R&R Sports Report. And until next week, we